I have gone full Warren Buffett mode, except the stock that holds my heart isn't Apple, it's Tesla. And even though I hold lots of different names in my portfolio, probably not as many as some because I'm a Bill Ackman fanboy.
Because we make very few investments. We own 8 things today, or 7 companies of that matter.
To also have a very consolidated portfolio of names that I have high convictions in. But even then, I hold an abnormal amount of Tesla right now because I simply don't think there is nearly the amount of upside on any other name in the stock market right now. Now, even though I'm extremely bullish on Tesla, I'm not ARK Invest crazy, okay? I'm not a Cathie Wood arbiter. I'm not going to be saying all the things that they say because I think a lot of this research, in fact, is pretty flawed. Even when we look at something like miles per crash on surface streets only, this is listed as a human-driven Tesla, and this is just listed as a full self-driving. Obviously, there's still a human behind the wheel, though, okay? We haven't reached full autonomy. I'm also not someone who got into Tesla particularly early. I was a recent buyer in this April when the stock hit 150, and I bought more on the way down to 140. I talked about this a lot here on YouTube and across the other socials as well, if you want to see timestamps of me making this move. And even though I'll go over this chart later in this video, I kind of want to break down what I see in the potential of this company. First, let's cover some of the juicy gossip surrounding this company. Earlier this year, a Delaware judge denied Elon Musk's pay package. Many people purported this to be a political move. Honestly, I don't give a shit about the politics of it. I'm here to make money. And my assessment of this was that Elon was probably going to work his way around this. We saw that through the attempt to get the company reincorporated in Texas so that if he did have to do a retrial, he could maybe get a more favorable judge in Texas. But he ended up winning it back by Tesla shareholders voting for him to receive that twice, showing the confidence that the company has in this leader. Now, even though I'm not ARK Invest crazy, I'm also not on the other side of the extreme, obviously, like Sean Williams here, who thinks Tesla is just a car company. Obviously, Tesla is not just a car company. Even the more nascent or maybe benign aspects of this company, like the energy storage business, are incredible products that have great growth. I mean, Tesla makes more off solar than a lot of the pure solar companies. But even this part of the business has tons of potential. If you think about potential innovations that we could see with solar panels, or I think more importantly, innovations that we could see in batteries. Of course, that's not what gets me up in the morning to do more research on Tesla. I'm focused on the Robo Taxis. We have margins that are literally almost 50% lower than Uber's. Keep in mind, that's a $150 billion company that Tesla could potentially be disrupting. Now, I'm not so sure that I've bought into the Cathie Wood outcome where she thinks human-driven vehicles will be considered weapons of mass destruction, although I think that there is definitely a base case when you go on YouTube and you watch all these drivers drive their Teslas around, and most of the time, the reason they're having issues is because of other human drivers.
Following rules of the road doesn't really cut it when you're sharing the road with humans that are the main character of their own stories. There's a lot of examples of things like this in this drive that really showcase what full self-driving is up against.
So even though fully autonomous self-driving feels inevitable, especially when you think about the learning curve of AI, we have to remember the social aspects of car ownership, such as it being a status symbol. We should also probably keep in mind that if the government tries to ban human-driven vehicles, there'll probably be a lot of fist shaking about the government controlling your ability to travel and taking control of your car. Even with all that said, the economics of robo-taxis make it an easy choice over something like Uber, and disrupting a $150 billion market cap is something you definitely cannot ignore. Now, what really makes me rock solid is the Optimus Robots. Elon thinks it could drive the company to 25 million, and if you want to live in a sci-fi landscape, it definitely could be something like that. Right now, the hype is all in AI, which may have a lot of you wondering like, oh, why don't you think NVIDIA has tons of potential? That's because this company is priced to grow at a ridiculous rate for the next 10 years, and being as cyclical as it is, NVIDIA will likely give me better entries over the course of the next few years. Not to mention the fact that the longer that time goes on, the more potential there is for disruption in the space, because it's nearly impossible to hold the current market share that they do over an experienced period of time. But Elon is also investing in lots of AI, which actually plays very well into the other aspects of his companies, especially when you think about Optimus. I think robots are the next hype cycle, and I want to get in now before everyone starts to realize that we're going robotic. Now, it's important to remember that all technology over time becomes cheaper. So Elon's saying something like Optimus Robots being less than 25 to 30,000 over time makes perfect sense. However, he's also said in live streams recently that it's probably going to be more like 30 to 35,000. Now, if we actually look at how much it costs annually to have something like a construction worker at 38,000 annually, if these robots have any sort of durability and can perform basic human functions like setting up drywall and have the fine minute skills to do that, this makes them easily a no-brainer buy for a majority of companies to do tasks like this. Now let's talk about the wild card, Tesla potentially making phones. Elon said that it's possible but not necessary, but he's also been hinting at this for over 5 years, so we kind of have to mention it. Now, this is probably the only aspect of the future of Tesla that I could be pushed to be pessimistic on. It's an extremely difficult industry that's basically a duopoly, and you're gonna need a miracle to actually break out. But if there's anyone who likely has a chance just because of his social popularity and because of the social signal that the company has become, Tesla might have a chance at actually securing a sizable niche. And what could actually push him to want to make this decision is likely the recent Apple and OpenAI partnership, which he has tweeted about nonstop, being a security and privacy risk for their users. And we've seen that when Elon gets very passionate about something, he tends to make very big decisions. Now let's talk about the other potentials in the stock market. Right now, Nvidia is clearly the prodigal child of the market. And I think that it is probably at the biggest risk right now. I think Nvidia is far more riskier than Tesla because basically all its money is being made off Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta. And all of these companies are going to want to make their own chips so they can stop being fisted by NVIDIA with these insane margins due to the fact that if you want to get into AI, it's basically NVIDIA's way or the highway. I don't think that's going to last. I think there is going to be tons and tons of capital poured into the AI space. And then when I look at these other companies individually, I see them all creating their own chips, and then AI at the end of the day being mostly free service that everyone could use. I don't think there's a ton of money to actually be made here. But when I look at something like Tesla, and I think about the competitors in the space, there really isn't a lot. You might create an argument that, like, okay, in the field of robotics, Tesla isn't actually the leader, but Tesla does have the most capital. And on top of that, Tesla also has the best routes to production. They have already most of the logistics set up for getting out those robots. There's a lot of advantages that Tesla has that are going to be enormous for some of these smaller companies. On top of the fact that we could see a Amazon strategy where Tesla just starts to buy out the competition if they have the cash to do so. And when I look at other companies like Eli Lilly, yes, I understand these drugs are absolutely groundbreaking. They're solving fatness. There's actually a lot of competition in this space, along with the fact that there's huge risk in these names because we don't know any of the long-term effects of these drugs. And Eli Lilly especially has already seen some side effects such as muscle loss that are pretty concerning. When I look at the rest of the market and I go through the names of the S&P, there's really not a lot of names here that stick out to me as having obvious signals of 5 to 10x growth. Tesla stands alone, and right now the narrative of it no longer being one of the big seven and having fallen off, and Elon's unhinged and he's uninvestable. These are great signals to me that there's a lot of people who need to get on board once the train starts to leave the station. Now let's take a look at the chart, because technical analysis plays a very solid role in my decision making when it comes to investing, and even more so when I'm trading. We can see that Tesla also has a tendency to go through extended periods of consolidation during their development phase before you get these massive rallies. And it's important to know that even when this company is selling off, usually when it does make an upside move, it's quite the impulsive move where you could have 20-point jumps in this stock in a single day. It's definitely not unheard of. Now, when people are talking about Tesla currently being in a bear market, I think they're very sorry and mistaken, because you definitely need to break this 107 for this to truly be a bear market for Tesla. And if we zoom in to the mess that's over here and we take a look at the 1 hour chart, you can kind of see what my game plan was for entering into my position. I went ahead and added these Fib levels so you could see what I was looking for. My first entry was going to be at 150 because that was actually a previous low that we saw within the stock from that daily chart. But we can see that we have a 5-wave pattern to the downside that gives us a perfect level of 140 where the stock proceeded to bounce. After that, you got this impulse wave. This looks like the beginning of a wave 1 as well, given that it is a strong impulse wave. Then we have very normal consolidation here, and this whole pattern, the ABC down, developing into a WXY phase where we actually see a very strong double bottom being set here for the stock, and what I think is going to lead into a third wave to the upside, where I think the stock has the potential to go all the way to 250, maybe even later this year, as I still am very bullish on this market right now. And that's where I'm going to end this video. Remember to subscribe to watch more content like this. Typically when I do deep dives on companies, we go much deeper in detail. Also, you could check out the Discord if you want to join the community and see what other stocks I still hold. Even though Tesla is the majority of my portfolio, I still have other names. And of course, subscribe to the channel so that you can actually watch our next trading video, which should come out tomorrow, and where I talk about in the short term when I'm looking for the market and what kind of trades I think are going to be interesting. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon.